My name is Maya, I'm 13 years old, and I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. People always think that girls like me must have done something wrong to end up here, but they never ask what happened before. I used to live with my mom. She was kind, funny, and she sang while cooking. I remember her voice more than her face. My dad wasn't really around much. Sometimes he came home angry, sometimes he didn't come home at all. When I was 7, everything changed. There was fighting, shouting, things breaking. One night, he hit her and she didn't wake up again. He went to prison after that, and I went to live with my uncle. He tried, I think. But I always felt like I was a guest in someone else's house. I learned how to cook, how to wash my clothes, how to pretend I was fine. When other kids were thinking about what shoes to wear to school, I was thinking about how to make rent. When I was 13, I left home. I told myself it was because I wanted freedom. Truth is, I just wanted someone to care about me. On the streets, people talk sweet. They tell you that you're beautiful, that you matter, that they'll protect you. I wanted to believe it so badly that I didn't see the danger. The first night I slept outside, I wasn't really alone. There were other girls older than me, and they looked like they'd been there forever. They taught me where to go, who to trust, and who to stay away from. I remember one girl saying, "Don't ever let them see you scared." So I learned how to smile when I was shaking inside. The streets move fast. One wrong corner, one wrong ride, and you disappear. I didn't know that at first. I thought it was just people trying to make money, trying to survive. But there's more to it. People who look for kids like me, who know we don't have anyone waiting at home. I met a man who said he'd help me find work, a place to stay, food, clothes. I thought maybe he was the first person who really saw me. He told me to call him D, said he'd be like family. For a while it felt safe. I had food, I had a bed, I had someone who told me what to do. But then came the rules. Where to go, when to smile, who to talk to. And the rules always changed. If I didn't listen, he got cold, silent. That silence was worse than shouting. I didn't understand what was really happening. I was just a kid trying to survive in a world that eats people like me alive. When I look back now, I see how young I was. 13, still thinking cartoons were real life, still sleeping with the light on. But the streets don't care about your age. They only care about what they can take. Sometimes I'd walk past other kids on their way to school, and I'd wish I could be invisible. I'd see their backpacks, their clean shoes, and I'd think, that used to be me. I didn't hate them. I just felt like I was watching life from the outside. There were nights I didn't sleep, just watched the city lights and told myself I'd find a way out someday. I didn't know how, but I knew there. At first, the city felt like freedom. Loud cars, neon lights, voices mixing in the dark. But freedom can turn into a trap before you notice. The nights started blending together. One street looked like the next. Every face seemed familiar and dangerous at the same time. There's a rhythm on the streets. People move fast, talk fast, lie fast. You learn to read danger the way others read a book. By the way someone looks at you, by how they slow down their car, by the silence that comes after a question. It becomes instinct. Money came and went. Some nights were good, others empty. The people who smiled at me always wanted something. They called it work, but it didn't feel like work. It felt like being borrowed, like my body didn't belong to me anymore. I started to move through days like a shadow, numb and quiet. I used to count the days, thinking I'd only do this for a week, maybe 2. But weeks turned into months. The longer I stayed out, the harder it was to imagine leaving. I told myself this was temporary, that I just needed enough to start over. But enough never came. There was always another night, another promise, another reason to stay. Sometimes I'd sit in the back of a car watching lights pass by and wonder what kind of person I'd become. Not good or bad, just invisible. People don't see girls like me. They see what they want from us. There were others out there, older women who'd been doing this for years. They'd tell me, don't fall in love. Don't trust anyone. Keep your head down. I thought they were being dramatic. I didn't realize they were giving me survival lessons. The first time I was arrested, I didn't even understand what for. They said words like soliciting, minor, protective custody. I sat in the back of the police car, cold and shaking, wondering if maybe this was finally over. But it wasn't. I was released, sent back. No home waiting. No one coming to get me. Sometimes the people who are supposed to help don't see the whole story. They see a number, not a child. They see trouble, not trauma. One night, a girl I knew disappeared. She'd been staying near the corner where the buses stop. Someone said she got into a car and never came back. Nobody even knew her real name. For days, I kept expecting to see her again. Maybe walking across the street or eating chips at the gas station. But she was gone. That was when I understood what danger really meant. After that, something in me changed. I stopped talking as much, stopped trusting. The streets harden you in small ways, like frost covering glass. You still see light through it, but it's blurry, distant. Sometimes I dream about what it would feel like to be safe. To wake up in a room where no one wants anything from me. To eat breakfast without checking who's watching. It sounds simple, but it feels like another world. People think this life is about choices, but sometimes there aren't any. You just keep walking because standing still feels worse. You tell yourself that one day you'll find a door out, even if it's locked right now. And somewhere inside, even after everything, hope refuses to die. It's quiet, small, but it's there, waiting. There was a night when the rain wouldn't stop. The city felt heavier than usual, the streets shining with light that wasn't real, just reflections in puddles. I had no jacket, no plan, just a habit of pretending I was fine. The corners were empty. Even the usual faces were gone. It was too wet, too cold for business. I found shelter under a broken sign near the gas station. A woman from the outreach van parked across the street waved. I'd seen her before, always handing out water, food, or those little cards with numbers on them. I never took one. That night I didn't walk away. She didn't ask questions. She just handed me a blanket and said, "You don't have to talk. Just warm up." For the first time in months, someone offered something without expecting anything back. I didn't even know what to say. We sat in silence, and she told me about the shelter nearby, a safe house for girls like me. I didn't trust it, not really. Places like that meant rules, and rules had always come with pain. But that night, the cold won. I followed her. The safe house was quiet. Too quiet. The walls were soft pink, the kind that tries to look comforting. I didn't sleep. I kept thinking someone would come in, take everything away again. But no one did. In the morning, a counselor asked how old I was. 16, I said without thinking. She smiled. "You don't have to lie here." Something in her voice, not pity but patience, made me look down. For a second I felt small again. Like a child, they gave me new clothes, a toothbrush, breakfast. I hadn't had eggs in years. I ate slow, like I didn't want it to end. But I didn't stay long. 2 nights later, I ran. Freedom still had its claws in me. The streets were louder, sharper, familiar. Safe felt strange. The woman from the van found me again a week later. She didn't yell. She just said, "You came back. That's enough." No one had ever said that to me before. Usually people only saw my mistakes. She saw effort. After that, I started visiting the shelter more often. Not to live there, just to sit. They had a small room with art supplies. I'd draw faces, mostly eyes. I guess I was trying to remember what it looked like when someone cared. One day, I met a girl about my age. She said she was from Bakersfield. We sat next to each other without talking for almost an hour. Then she whispered, "You think we'll ever be normal again?" I didn't answer. I didn't know what normal was anymore, but little by little, the silence between us started to heal something inside me. It wasn't friendship yet, but it was connection. A reminder that I wasn't completely alone. Sometimes I'd still go back to the same streets. Not to work, just to see if I could walk past without stopping. Each time I made it a little farther, it was like teaching my body to forget. The city looked different then. The same lights, same buildings, but somehow less powerful. I started to realize that maybe I wasn't trapped after all. Maybe I just hadn't learned how to open the right door. That night under the rain didn't save me completely. Nothing works like a miracle. But it gave me something I hadn't felt in a long time. The idea that my story could still change. The safe house had rules. No phones after 10. No leaving without checking out. No talking to men outside the program. I hated rules. But what I hated more was how empty the silence felt when I didn't have them. Every morning started with a group meeting. Some girls laughed, some cried, some just stared at the floor. We all had the same eyes, tired, guarded, pretending to be older than we were. No one asked what we'd been through. Everyone already knew. At first I kept to myself. I didn't want to share stories. Didn't want anyone to look at me like a victim. But the counselors didn't push. They just kept showing up. Every day, same smiles, same questions. Did you eat? Did you sleep? They asked so many times that I started answering. One afternoon, they brought in an art therapist. She placed a blank canvas in front of me and said, "Draw what peace looks like." I stared at the paper for an hour. My hands shook. I didn't know what peace looked like. I only knew how to draw walls, bars, and streetlights, so I painted a window, a small one, with light coming through. When she asked what it meant, I said, "It's where I want to be." She smiled softly. That night, I dreamed of the window. In the dream, I could finally open it. I could breathe. But healing isn't straight. Some nights I still woke up sweating, thinking someone was in the room. I still flinched when doors closed too fast. Some mornings I wanted to run again, not because I missed the streets, but because I didn't know who I was without them. There was a volunteer who came every week, a college student named Elena. She'd bring notebooks and pens saying, "Write whatever you can't say out loud." I didn't write at first. Then one day, the words started to spill. About my mom, my dad, the night it all changed. About how I blamed myself even though I knew I shouldn't. About how I didn't know how to stop surviving long enough to live. Elena read one of my pages and said quietly, "You have a voice." No one had ever said that to me. For so long, people only told me what to do, not what I could become. One evening, we went for a walk near the park. The sun was setting, and everything looked golden, clean. I caught my reflection in a shop window. My hair tied back, no makeup, just me. For a second, I didn't recognize the girl staring back. She looked alive. But with hope came fear. What if the world outside still saw me the same way? What if every step forward just led me back to the same corner? The counselor once said, "You can't change what happened, but you can choose what you build next." Those words followed me everywhere. So I started to make small choices. Staying in, finishing meals, drawing, breathing. It didn't look like much, but it was the beginning of something real. Sometimes I'd sit by the window at night, the same way I used to on the streets, but this time the light wasn't from cars. It was from the moon. Quiet, steady, mine. I wasn't healed. Not yet. But I wasn't broken anymore either. I was somewhere in between, learning to breathe again. Freedom didn't come all at once. It arrived in small pieces. A quiet morning, a full meal, a night without fear. The first real victory was sleeping through until sunrise. At the safe house, they called them wins. Simple things, finishing a class, drawing again, saying no without guilt. Every time they clapped, it reminded me that healing doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's just surviving the day with your heart still open. There were new routines now. Group meetings, chores, school forms. For the first time in years, someone asked what I wanted to become, not what I'd done. I didn't know the answer yet, but the question felt like air in my lungs. I began writing in a small blue notebook. Not stories, just fragments. I'm still here. The sky is pink again. I want to keep this feeling. The words were shaky, but they were mine. One afternoon, the outreach worker from the night it rained came to visit. She said, "You don't have to be perfect to start over." That sentence stayed with me. I stopped waiting to feel ready and started living instead. There were still bad days, flashbacks, streets I avoided. Some mornings I'd catch my reflection and see the same scared kid, but then I'd breathe and whisper, "You're safe now." Sometimes that was enough. I started helping at a community garden. The woman there said, "Everything grows at its own pace. Even people, I like that. Dirt under my nails felt better than fear in my hands. School was harder. Sitting in a classroom again, surrounded by noise and laughter, felt unreal. But each day I stayed was proof I was rebuilding something. I learned I was good at art, not just drawing, but telling stories through color. I painted windows, light, open hands. Freedom, I realized, wasn't about leaving the past behind. It was about walking beside it without letting it lead. The other girls from the shelter were healing too. We didn't talk about the streets much. We talked about music, food, movies, normal things. We laughed. Real laughter. I'd forgotten how that sounded. When graduation day came, it wasn't fancy. Just folding chairs and a sheet cake. My name was called and I walked up shaking. The applause was soft but real. For once, it wasn't for surviving something terrible. It was for becoming someone new. Later, someone asked, "What does freedom mean to you now?" I said, "It means I choose. I choose where to go, who to trust, what kind of person I want to be. I choose to breathe, to rest, to stay." There's a list taped beside my bed. Sleep, eat, ask for help. Remember the window. The window I once painted still hangs on my wall. Wrinkled, faded but glowing in the morning light. It used to be a dream. Now, it's a reminder. Because freedom didn't arrive like fireworks. It came like this. A quiet breath, a steady step, a life that finally belongs to me.